Where's the smart? Hopefully Companion is on. Let me just put this bad boy on now. Yes, okay. So the cardio in ButtCamp is going to be kind of really get your heart rate up, right, for the first 5 days. So it is going to be super fat burning, if you like, but you don't have to jump. There's no like crazy jumping or, you know, really bad knee stuff. You can choose your level. You can go a little higher, a little lower, whatever works for you. I give all options. And then on a Saturday, we're going to be doing a glute strength cardio workout. So it is going to be faster moving exercises with a glute band. That is going to get your heart rate up, but not as much as it'll get your heart rate up during the week. So I wanted to combine strength and cardio on the weekend, and then you're going to have one full day off. And believe me, you are going to need it. And of course, it's an active rest day. If you wanted to go for a walk, be active, throw in something extra, totally fine and recommended. If you don't, you're just going to take a wee rest on the weekend, and it'll be lovely. So that is what's going to be happening in ButtCamp. I'm so excited because that workout I did was like, oh, my glutes were really on fire. So you guys are going to love it. Right, let's get to the questions. I think there's a lot, so I really will try and work through them as fast as I can. Vanessa Lee has the first one. She says, performance enhancers have always been questioned and how they would affect judging now with Ozempic being so available. Do you think it will make drastic differences to people's results? Do you think there would be an advantage or disadvantage to be taking it? Okay, great question. And I think it's one that definitely we need to address. So here goes. Here's my thoughts on it. I addressed this last week. And what I said last week was, in the past, so let's talk about first, rather than talking about weight loss medications, let's first talk about performance enhancing drugs, PEDs, they're called, steroids. So the one thing I would say, first of all, is that I have generally found in all the time I've been running this company that most of my customers are kind of age 35 to 75. And most of them are average moms and grandmas and women like you and me who really have no access to performance enhancing drugs and wouldn't even know how to get their hands on them if they wanted to. And even if they did want to, wouldn't really want to take them because actually we're here to prioritize our health more than anything. Now, are there going to be outliers? Are there going to be people who are going to see a huge cash prize and think, oh, I'm going to join that program. I'm going to, speak to my boyfriend who's a personal trainer. I'm going to get some fat burners and some steroids, and I'm going to crank the steroids into me, and I'm going to whack the fat burners into me, and I'm going to get an absolutely incredible result. Yes, there are always those kinds of people. Okay, how do I know? Because you know by looking at them, okay? You have no idea how many people we have excluded from the top 10 in competitions in the past because we've looked at them and we've gone, steroids. Immediately, steroids. The judges know instantly by looking at them that their results are just not possible using this program in 8 weeks. So what happens is we give the program to the judges and we say, here's the workouts, here's the training, here's the cardio. This is what they've been doing. So somebody could, yes, do more, right? Do more cardio and get more fat loss. Totally possible. And actually the winners usually do a bit more. However, the judges look at the program and they go, oh, okay, so this is the program. And then they look at the results. And there are people who have submitted photos in the past and the judges have gone, there is no way she got these results from doing this program. It's just not possible. And there's no way she got these naturally because we know how much muscle can be built in 8 weeks. And we know how much muscle can be built in 8 weeks if someone is injecting a massive amount of steroids into them. And the two are very different. So as soon as we see a photo like that coming in, we just automatically exclude it, right? We don't even write to the person. We don't tell them. We don't give them an explanation because if we write to them and say, are you taking steroids? What are they going to say? No, of course not, right? So we just exclude them. And they have written to us in the past and been like disgusted. Like I was saying last week, we had a girl threaten to sue us because she didn't get in the top 10 because her results in 4 weeks just weren't possible using my program. So that's the other thing you have to remember. I know what results are possible with the programming I've put into this program. And so if someone comes in with absolutely spectacular results, we're gonna know, right, that this is not possible in this time frame. So we know how much weight loss is possible in 8 weeks naturally. We know. How do we know? Because these 9 judges that I have chosen are all competitors, judges, prep coaches, online coaches, offline coaches, PTs. They have so much experience that they know what's possible in 8 weeks. So if someone comes in 8 weeks and they've lost 60 pounds of body fat. We're like, not on this program, like not doing 30 minutes of cardio 6 days a week. Not even if she added in an extra hour's cardio a day, even if she added in, you know, an extra training session, even if she like starved herself on 600 calories, we know it's not possible. It's not possible naturally. So we would go, okay, well, we're excluding that person, unfortunately, because it just isn't possible. So I think that that's one thing that's really good to talk about, and something that is missed by a lot of competitors. They go, well, what if someone's using drugs, or what if someone's using performance enhancing drugs and they get spectacular results? But what they don't account for is the experience that the judges have to know what is possible from the programming. I could show Mark Getty, who is my trainer, I could show him a program that has 1 hour's cardio a day plus, you know, at home strength training with a dumbbell 5 days a week plus, you know, say X amount of calories. And I could say to Mark, here's the program. How much weight do you think this person will lose in 8 weeks? And they'll go, Mark can say, well, you know what, if they've, you know, they'll probably lose, like if they're reasonably overweight, they could probably lose from this like maximum 30 pounds, but probably it's going to, you know, be in around the 15 to 18 pound mark, right? Or if I say to Mark, okay, there's 3 hours cardio a day and 1,200 calories and 1 hour strength training in the gym, how much is someone going to lose? And he'll be like, okay, well, on that amount, they're going to lose, here's the range of what they could lose. So the programming actually tells us how much weight someone could lose. And that's where the question of the performance enhancing drugs isn't really as relevant as you would think it would be. Now, let's talk about the other little side of it, which is, well, what if someone is microdosing Ozempic? What if someone is on Mounjaro or taking small amounts? What if someone isn't, you know, on the full amount and going, you know, and is using that as a way to support their fat loss? Well, unfortunately, if they're doing it responsibly and they are, you know, on smaller doses, which is helping them to lose body fat, there's nothing we can do about that. We can't do blood tests. We can only run the competition as fairly as we can run it. That's all we can do. But the only thing that we can go by is we know what's possible in 8 weeks. But the other thing I want you to think about is this is not a fat loss competition. This is a glute building competition. The first thing that we are looking at and what we are paying 80% of attention to is the glutes. We literally are inspecting your ass from all sides. We're looking at it upside down, back to front, sideways, up, down. What's possible? What did you do with the glutes, right? We're not going, oh, loads of back fat lost, you know, like we're literally staring up your snatch, right? We're like, she needed a bikini wax, but her glutes look amazing. Nobody joking. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, so we're looking at your glutes. So we want to see how much muscle did someone build on their glutes? You know, that's what they're looking for first and foremost. So even if someone has a drastic amount of fat loss, but they've got, you know, but their glutes are hanging down, that isn't what we're looking for. Someone could lose 50 pounds on this program and, you know, and look incredible and have 6-pack abs, but they didn't have a great glute transformation. They're not going to place. So I hope that puts your mind at rest a little bit as to what, you know, of course you're always going to have people who will, you know, go the extra mile, do the competitive edge, you know, who will, I don't know, take little bits of this or little bits of that. There's nothing we can do about that, unfortunately. You know, we've always recommended people take things like caffeine and alpha lipoic acid and that kind of stuff, you know, and L-carnitine to help shuttle nutrients into muscle and away from fat store and to raise the metabolism and that kind of stuff. So we've always recommended that people do these fat burning things to raise the metabolism. Some people do, some people don't. So is it unfair that some people do and others don't? Is it unfair on the ones who don't for the ones that do? Like, let's say someone isn't able to take a fat burner or caffeine or, alpha lipoic acid or something like that. Does that then deem the competition unfair for the ones that do because they can't take it? You know, it's not a scientific experiment. We can only give out the parameters and say, this is, you know, this is what we're judging on. And then hire 9 incredible experienced judges who know exactly what they're looking for and try and make it as fair as possible. So hopefully that helps. Okay, what else have we got here? Larissa Hart, for those of us with knee or quad issues, will alternative activities be suggested? My quad is pulling my kneecap out of alignment and creating pain in my inner knee. I am squatting only enough to sit down, but lunges are out of the question at the moment. I'm seeing a physio about it, just thought I'd ask. Larissa, great question. So with the fact that many women have knee issues, yes, I am adding in lunge alternatives into the exercises. So there actually won't be as many lunges as you think, because what I'm actually focusing on predominantly for this particular program is hip thrusts and glute bridges, because hip thrusts are the king of glute building exercises. Lunges are really, really good. And there will be lunges on 2 different days, but actually there will be hip thrusts every single day. So either with a barbell, with a band, with a dumbbell, a barbell and a band, a dumbbell and a band, whatever you've got at home is what you're going to do. So there's going to be hip thrusts every single day. Those are going to be our predominant exercise that we're going to be doing. There are going to be lunges, but I will give alternatives for lunges. I've actually worked out a really good alternative for lunges, and I did it in the workout that I released early last Friday, where you stand in a lunge position, but not with your front knee in a lunge. So it's almost like a lunge-RDL, I called it. So you stand with your feet in the lunge position and with your front knee slightly bent, but then instead of going up and down, you bring your body forward and back. So what that does is that keeps the quad, because you're planting your front foot, you have a band around your knees. So because you're planting your front foot, it keeps the tension on the quad in the front leg. My quad was shaking at the end of it. So it keeps the tension on the quad. It keeps the tension on the glute and the hamstring. But because you're bending forward in like a lunge-RDL, it actually stretches and squeezes the glute the whole time, but also keeps the tension on the quad at the front. It's the best alternative I have found for a lunge for people with knee issues. So I will be showing that at the very beginning and giving that as an alternative for anybody who cannot lunge. So anytime there's any kinds of lunges, even if it's a Bulgarian split squat, which there are one day with Bulgarians in it, you are going to stand in the same position. So you're going to stand in the Bulgarian split squat position, but instead of going up and down, you're going to go forward and back in a Bulgarian-RDL. And it's really going to hurt and you're going to love it. So absolutely, there will be alternatives for those who can't lunge. Rhonda Nielsen, I'd love for you to talk about mindset, combating all or nothing thinking. I sabotage myself every challenge because I will miss a cardio or eat off plan 1 week and then decide I have failed and give up because, well, obviously no one else in the challenge will also have bad days like me. So Rhonda, I do talk about this a lot, okay? And I think it comes down to 2 things. And I'm because there's a lot of questions to go through here, I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. I'm just going to kind of go right in, okay? You have to decide, first of all, at the very beginning, are you going to get to the end? Are you going to get to the end no matter what? You have to decide, you have to understand and embrace the fact that you are going to be imperfect because you are not a robot and you are not a machine. You cannot program your body to train every day come hell or high water, because you have a life. My computer keeps doing this and it's something that's open, keeps going ding. And I'm like, what is that? I'm not sure what it is. Anyway, I digress. I apologize. So you have to decide at the very beginning that you're going to complete this and you're going to complete it, whether it's perfectly or imperfectly. The most important thing is not being perfect. The most important thing is getting to the end, especially if you have never completed a challenge. So if you've never completed a challenge, the most important thing for you is getting to the end of the challenge, whether you get to it perfectly or not. It's not making sure that you show up every single day and do every single exercise. It's not. It's about making sure that you get to the end. And if you get to the end once, having done 60% of the training and the workouts and the food plan, then you should congratulate yourself for getting to the end. Doesn't matter if it was perfect or imperfect. And so then the next time there's a challenge, you can do that challenge and you can maybe aim for 70%. So completing a challenge perfectly or 100% is not something that anyone can really ever do out of the gate. It doesn't happen that way because life gets in the way. Everybody has a cardio session that throws them, that they can't complete. Everybody has a workout that they miss. Everybody has a meal or a birthday or you get your period unexpectedly and you fall off the wagon and you lose willpower in the moment and you have some chocolate and you're like, oh, I just really needed that. But you know what? Maybe your soul needed that right now. Maybe that is what you actually needed to get through this really hard thing where you're exhausted and you're tired and you're fed up and you're hungry and you don't want to go on anymore. Maybe the thing that caused you to go on and actually get to the end of the challenge was missing that cardio session, was missing that glute session, was eating that chocolate. Maybe that's what actually caused you to get to the end rather than causing you to not get to the end. Do you see the difference? That's one of the things that I always teach people. I say the problem is we set out wanting to be perfect rather than setting out wanting to get to the end. But we also don't realize that every step, whether it's positive or whether it's failure, actually gets us through this moment. If you complete your workout and you do your, your cardio and you meal prep and you do it all perfectly and you manage to get through one day with having, ticked all those boxes, great. That's what got you to the next day. But maybe the next day you are exhausted and you miss your alarm, or your body hurts in ways you didn't expect, or one of your kids needed to go to the emergency room and it was somebody's birthday and you forgot. And so you didn't organize or plan your time effectively and you missed your cardio, you missed your training. Well, the next day will still come and you can be like, oh, wow, okay, so I had these failures today, but actually taking my kid to the emergency room is more important than doing my workout. So that's what was needed to get to the next day. This is what had to happen today to get me to day 3 of ButtCamp, day 4 of ButtCamp, day 5 of ButtCamp. So rather than feeling like you failed or you succeeded, you just have to show up and do what you can do in every single moment and really try and not beat yourself up. And I know it's so easy to say, but like I have days now where like shit happens and I go, do you know what? Like I was going to go to the office today and record a workout. This happens often on a Sunday. I get up in the morning, I put on my training clothes, say to my husband, I'm going to go to the office. I'm going to record a workout. I'm going to get it out of the way. And then I start doing something at home where I think, well, I'll just do this first. And then one of the kids wants breakfast, or I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'll make you some breakfast. And then I end up chatting to them. And then my mom calls in, I have coffee with her, and the workout just kind of never happens. Then it gets to 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to cook Sunday dinner. Do I really want to go to the office and record a workout? And I go, oh, well, listen, it wasn't ideal. It's thrown me back a day. I needed to get ahead of the workouts, but sure, I'll let it go for today. And I make the decision to let it go, put it behind me. And once I make that decision, it's gone. And then the next day I start again. And you just have to get used to failure as part of life. Don't make it mean anything other than you're going to succeed and you're going to fail. But if you start out saying that your goal this time is just to complete the challenge, just to get to the end of it, even if you only get to the end of it doing 20% of the workouts, at least you got to the end, right? So aim to be consistent, not perfect. No one will get to the end of this challenge being 100% perfect. And the other thing I've realized is being 100% perfect doesn't guarantee success. Like it really doesn't guarantee success. You may think that if you're 100% perfect, you'll have some incredible result at the end, but you may have been 100% perfect. You'll get to the end and you won't have this incredible result that you thought you would get. Everything is an experiment. Everything is hypothesis. Whenever something is new to you and you have no data, you just have to embark on it with this attitude of fun. Well, let's give this a whirl and see how far I get. And if you embark on it with that attitude, and I know when there's a lot of money on the line, it's hard, right? But try to forget about the money and try just to have fun with it and think, I'm just going to get to the end here. I'm going to get to the end. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to do my best with the cardio. I'm going to do my best with the workouts. I'm going to, plan in advance. I'm going to sit down with my calendar and put all the dates in and all the times and when I'm going to work and when I'm going to meal prep. I'm going to, treat it like a job that I'm starting that, I have to be organized for. And then I'm going to give it my best shot. And if you commit to giving it your best shot, nobody can ask more than that. So that would be my advice for you. Annika von Wovern. Annika von Wovern. I'm sorry, I'm not sure exactly how. It's probably Wovern, actually, because it looks German, potentially. I'm getting sidetracked by the name. I'm so excited for ButtCamp, she says. Inky challenge I have ever finished. I think she means the only challenge I have ever finished was the Shred 2.0. I think she means the menopause shred. And I loved it. Will there be an option to swap in the meal plans? So if you don't need seitan, can this be swapped with X grams of TVP for etc.? Great question. So the way I've done the meal plans this time, and I know I'm teasing you because none of you actually even have access to anything now, but so the way we've done the meal plans is we have put all of the food items in a table. So we've also given you recipes, but we have put every single food item for every recipe in a table. So let's say breakfast has 30 grams of oats, 1 scoop of the Protein Works protein powder, 50 grams of frozen berries. I'm just making this up. And whatever, like half a banana. Well, we have listed the macros for each food item. So we have listed the calories, proteins, carbs, and fats for the berries, the banana, the oats, the protein powder, the almond milk. Every single food item that's in your recipes has the macros and calories. which means that you can easily swap it out for something else. So we haven't listed substitutions, as in, if you don't have this, you can use this. If you don't have this, you can use this. But what you can do is just go onto Google and say, you know, what would be the equivalent in tofu of 140 grams of seitan? What would be equivalent calories? And so as long as the calories are the same, the macros don't matter as much if you're just switching out one food item. So let's say there's, in your seitan, there's 50 grams of protein, 9 grams of fat, and 2 grams of carbs. And let's say the calories are 243. Again, just making it up. Well, as long as you're having 243 grams or 245 grams or 240 grams of, 240 calories of tofu, doesn't matter if the protein's slightly lower and the fat slightly higher and the carbs are slightly lower, okay? As long as the calories remain the same and you're just swapping out one food item, that's good enough. That's close enough. So it's calories in this instance really are more important than macros if you're only swapping out one food item, because the macros will be balanced over, you know, the rest of the day. So very easy to switch out items because we have everything listed for you. And I thought that was probably the quickest and easiest way to do it, since we have vegan and non-vegan plans with a lot of different food items on it. And Krebs, I know I'm jumping the gun here, but here goes. Oh, and this is so funny. I love you guys so much. After the competition is over, will you walk us through how to continue results? The coaches and I always laugh because we always say it's like, we used to have like a what's next after every competition. And it was usually, you know, the Sculpt and Shred or the 12-month program or some kind of longer term program for anyone who wanted to, you know, continue on to purchase and move into. And we used to release it at the end of the shred. But then what we started noticing was at about halfway through, people started asking what's next. And so they started getting really good results, loving the competition, loving the training, loving the workout. And they began to get kind of worried that they wouldn't be able to maintain the results. So they started, you know, asking what's next about halfway through. If it was an 8-week program, they would start asking about week 4. If it was a 4-week program, they'd start asking about week 2. So we started releasing our What's Next program halfway through because that's when people started asking. But then what happened is everyone got earlier and earlier. So it was like people would be like 2 days in, they'd be like, what happens at the end of the program? We're like, sweetheart, you're only 48 hours into this program. Why don't you get a little further on before you think about what's next? But I totally get it. Like, you want to know, everybody always wants to know what's happening next, especially if you're like me and you're like an over planner or an overachiever. You're like, I want to know what's happening at the end because I know I'm committed to this now and this is what's happening. So I just thought that was quite funny. And that it hasn't even started. Now you're asking what happens at the end. So she's asking, will you walk us through what happens to continue results, calorie count, progressing with the programs, etc. Especially for those of us who have a lot to lose. So Anne, I have to be honest, I don't have a follow-on program for this particular competition. That's not to say that I won't develop something or come up with something halfway through. I think at the minute, like, our continuity program that we have, that we recommend that everyone over the age of 35 use for a continuity program, is the Sculpted Menopause app. That is what is, you know, it has gym workouts, home gym workouts, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, advanced, intermediate, beginners. It has, you know, home workouts. It has all the different types of challenges with me, from beginner right up to advanced. It has 450 meals. It has a macro calculator. It has meal plans. It has coaching calls. Like, it has everything, right? It's our continuity build your body program. But what we find is people get excited by the competition, and they get excited by the camaraderie and working towards a result and working towards an end goal. And they think they want a continuity program, but then once they move into a continuity program, they realize that without the excitement of the competition and the excitement of the group and the excitement of the prize money, they actually find it very hard to stick to the continuity program. There's something magical about going through things together as a group. And so to combat this, what I started doing in the app was I started releasing new 4-week challenges. So I did the Sculpt challenge, and then I did Fierce, and then I did Carve, and then so I did all these different 4-week challenges that led on one from the other, where a whole group of us were going through them together. No cash prizes for those ones. There was for Sculpt. There was $10,000, which is included in your app subscription. We do 4 competitions a year included in your app subscription, and there will be another one before the end of the year, so probably straight after this one. But so that's our continuity program at the minute, unfortunately. And I don't have another program that is a continuity program that is continually being coached apart from extreme menopause body makeover. So I don't know what to tell you just yet. We're definitely not going to leave you high and dry at the end. I do have another company launching next year. It's Be Sculpted, but it's a completely different company than this one. It's actually going to really focus on beginners. So, and leading people through a 12-month journey. That could be something that you could consider next year. So I don't have an answer for you, except that the SCULPT Menopause app is perfect for anyone over the age of 35. It's where I am every single day. It's where I am in the comments, in the challenges. I'm constantly recording workouts and uploading them. This is not going to change for the future. So that is what I would recommend everyone does after this, if you want a continuity program. But if you don't, you're welcome just to go back to the start and repeat it all again if you loved it, because you get access to this for life. Caroline Hunter, will we have buddies for this shred? I found it useful last time as I did the 4-week one to have someone to hold me accountable. Also, are the rules likely to include sending a picture of your meal prep? I have done 2 shreds, and the one where we had to send in the meal prep, I did far better. Note to self that if I prep, I do well. If I just get the ingredients, I make it up on the night when I'm tired and hungry. So Caroline, we're not going to have either of those things for this shred, and I'll tell you why. Because it's only $97. So you have to understand that the different things that we offer for different shreds are included in the price, because they require an awful lot more bandwidth to be able to staff these things. So whenever we did the buddies, it takes a huge amount of bandwidth from the team for us to get all the details of the buddies and then pair everybody and then send out the emails and match everyone up. And then obviously, there's a lot of people then their buddies fall off the wagon and they don't show up, and then we have to repair them. So that requires a lot of effort from the team. And then also sending in the meal prep pictures. Again, it requires bandwidth from the team. It requires bandwidth from the website. It requires someone to, do the upload forms every week, have the meal prep, pictures sent in, check, for the competition. Because obviously the only way that people could win money in that particular competition you're talking about was if they uploaded sets of meal prep pictures every week, plus their, accountability pictures. And that was what we decided who went forward to the overall competition. Again, it all takes bandwidth, but those particular shreds were $497. So the higher the price point, the more we can include. But this one is $97 for 8 weeks, and you get me coaching you. Like, I started early, right? As a bonus for those of you who purchased early. So you get me coaching you every single week. The last time I coached a program, I charged $997 for it. And that was only for 8 weeks. So you didn't even get me for any longer. You literally got me once a week for 8 weeks. And if you wanted me coaching you for 8 weeks, it was $997. So to be honest, the price point of this one is so low for what you get that I couldn't possibly include those things, but I just wanted to explain why so that you understood. It really does all come down to price and what we can include for the price that you pay. And we wanted to make this one super affordable, which is why you won't be getting all the bells and whistles that you would have got with previous programs. Kim Brannigan. Should we be posing in our before photos? Does it make it more comparable for judging if we're standing or posing in the same position in both before and after? You can pose, you can not pose, you can wear leggings, bikini bottoms, G-string. I was going to say you could stand naked if you want, but actually I wouldn't recommend that. So especially if you're due a bikini wax. So definitely I mean, it doesn't matter. Honestly, you can pose and not pose. It doesn't make it more comparable for judging. It really doesn't. Like, we insider secret here. If it were me, I'd be trying to make my ass look as bad as possible in the before photo. I'm just saying, right? Don't tell anyone I said that, right? Just the 148 people that are on this call. Don't tell anyone I said that. But that's a wee tip for you. You want to try and make your butt look as bad as possible. Now, you don't want to be standing like squeezing it really tight and like trying to make your cellulite look really bad. Don't make it look obvious that you're trying to make your butt look as bad as possible, okay? But certainly don't be like giving us your best high tight glute shot that you've ever had in your life. You want to make the comparison like, wow. Okay. So for the before photo, definitely, your drabbled knickers and your, pasty white cellulite bum. The worse you can make it, the better it'll be. And another tip I'll give you as well, guys, is a lot of people say, I want to wear exactly the same thing for my before and after so that it makes the comparison better. Just as a little tip, and I'm not one of the judges, by the way, so I can say this, but just as a little tip for judging, if you wear something different before and after, it actually provides more of a contrast. So if you're before underwear is red and your after underwear is bright blue or black, remember that whenever the judges are scrolling, if we have, let's say we have 300 entries for this competition, we normally have about 10% of people who purchase the program actually enter. So let's say we sell 3,000 programs, which is certainly my goal. And we have 10% of people enter. The judges are going through 300 photos and they're like, so they have them all on a screen and they're scrolling. Okay. Now they're not flicking really fast, but they're, scrolling with their fingers and, and the photos are going up past them. Whenever you're doom scrolling Facebook or TikTok and then boom, something catches you. You know the way they say, if you're in content making, the first 3 seconds, the first second and a half has to catch someone's attention, like boom. And you have to like make them stop in the time it takes from their finger to go from the bottom to the top. That's kind of what it's like for the judges. You have to make them go, oh, like you have to give them something that catches their eye. So if you're super white beforehand and then really dark brown after, they're going to notice that. That's going to make them stop and look. Now, your transformation might not be epic. So they might go, oh, stop and look. Okay, well, that, it's good, but it's not the best. And they might still scroll on. So you want to make your befores and your afters look amazing. Let's say your hair's up in the before and it's down in the after. Let's say you're white in the before, you're lovely chocolate brown in the after because you smeared yourself in Lusotan and buffed your skin and made it shine and now you look amazing. Let's say you're wearing a red bikini beforehand and a black bikini or a blue bikini afterwards. You want to make your before and after make the judges stop when they're scrolling. So just remember that's how it happens. All of the entry forms go into a huge big long, all the photos, a huge big long scroll. And then, we scroll or they scroll from the bottom to the top and you have to catch their attention. You have to make them stop. And hopefully your transformation will be epic. And by the way, they look at the butt first. So they have the butt. So they have the 4 photos side by side. And you upload your butt one first. So there'll be your glutes before and after, then your front before and after, and then your 2 sides. So what they do is they blow the screen up so that your glutes are in the middle. And that's the first thing they look at. So they don't even look at your other photos. And if your glute photo makes them stop, then they shrink the screen down and then they look at your other photos. And they'll say, okay, well, what was their front like? What was their side picture like? What was their whatever? And then they start to look at all of them. So you want to make them stop in their tracks. The other thing that is really disappointing, because Laura and I normally go through the photos first and make sure that they're all correct, right? Before we send them through the judges, because we don't want to waste their time. Every single competition without fail, there are at least 10 to 20 people who upload their photos incorrectly. So whenever you upload your photos, you're supposed to put your before on the left and your after on the right. So as you're looking at the screen, so this might be your left if you're looking at me, I'm not sure, but this is my right hand, but this might look like my left hand if you're looking at me. I don't think it does though, but anyway, because it's a mirror, forget it. So before on the left, after on the right. The amount of people that upload with the after on the left and the before on the right is unbelievable. The amount of people that upload with their photos, they've uploaded 8 different entries. So not 4 photos with the before and after side by side. They upload like 4 befores and 4 afters. The amount of people that upload photos of their dog and their gardener and their lawnmower and their cats, sometimes multiple pictures of their dog. It's like they've gone into their album and they've selected the photos. They've accidentally selected like 10 different photos. And we're like, oh, there's a bird. And oh, there's a dog. Oh, there's so it's so funny, but it really does make me laugh as to, how people can upload the photos incorrectly, after reading the rules. So don't do that, right? Make sure you read the rules. Make sure you upload your photos correctly. And then the other tip I would give you is whenever you're taking your photos, make sure you leave plenty of space around your photos, because practice taking them beforehand, because whenever you take your photos and then you go to put them into that app, right? I use the app called Layout. I have an iPhone, so I use Layout. So I'll put the before on the left and the after on the right. Let me see if I can pull one up and show you. You want to make sure that the photos are, first of all, of similar size. We always get photos where sometimes like the before photo is tiny. Like it's like someone has taken the photo and like the person was standing like at the other end of the house and they're like taking, and they're like a speck, and then their after photo, they're massive. So they don't look like comparable, so I'm going to show you some past winners. Okay. So Do you see how this girl, Casey, looks like her photos are comparable? Her sign, the other thing is if you have a sign on the wall, you want to make sure that the photo is taken far enough away that you can fit the sign in. Because a lot of times when people go to try and put their photo into the app and they're like, oh my God, I can't fit the sign in, because whatever way the photo's been taken, it hasn't been done correctly. So if you're in this competition to win it, practice taking your photos before you're taking your photos, right? And then put them side by side in an app. And then remember where you were standing, what the Zoom was like, what it was done. Like, this is what I would be doing. If there was like $20,000 on the line and I thought I might win it, I'd be practicing taking my photos beforehand. I would not leave anything to chance with $20,000. So these are some really good examples of before and afters. Do you see how they are comparable? As in, like, they're the same size. They're the same, you know, they're just beautifully laid out. So you want to make sure that this is what your before and afters look like. And for those of you listening to this and not watching, and you can't, I'm really sorry that you can't see, but you want to make, oh, there's a needle that I was obviously taking a photograph of for someone, an insulin needle. So that's what you want your photos to look like. So please, 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 please read the rules and make sure you upload your photos correctly, because it's heartbreaking whenever we see people who have worked so hard and they have just thrown it all away with bad photos. Kelly Sule, thanks for this opportunity. I'm super excited. I have chronically under-eaten for the last year at a minimum. I screwed up and I didn't do the build part, and I went straight into the cut from Extreme Menopause Body Makeover thinking I could still drop weight for a vacation. It didn't work as planned. No surprise to you, I'm sure. But I have been reversing out of it as instructed, and just within the last few weeks, I'm hitting close to my maintenance calories. I had been planning to stay here for a few months to make sure my metabolism is solid before doing another cut. I'm currently at 1,750 calories. Knowing the meal plans are another cut, do you suggest that I do the cut in the program or stay where I am? I don't want to sound negative, but I do not expect to win any prizes as my body responds extremely slowly, as I have adrenal fatigue and subclinical hypothyroidism due to inflammation and gut issues. And I am more interested in the long game. I want to do what will give me the healthiest and best body in the long term. I appreciate you and the coaches. Okay, great question, Kelly. First thing I would say is, separate and aside from ButtCamp, if you have adrenal fatigue and hypothyroidism and inflammation and gut issues, and you're not going to enter the competition, you should definitely check out microdosing GLP-1s. GLP-1s, this is just general health advice. This is not ButtCamp specific advice. Microdosing GLP-1s has been completely transformational for me. I have zero inflammation, zero pain, zero gut issues now. Menopause completely destroyed my gut. I couldn't eat lentils, beans, chickpeas, couldn't eat green cruciferous vegetables. All my normal diet went out the window. I was so gassy, so bloated, having such digestive issues. My sister was the same. And I had really bad gluteal tendinopathy. I've been going on and on and on about this for months now. You probably heard me talk about it. If you haven't, I have whole podcasts on my podcast about it. Just go look it up, the Kim Constable podcast. But definitely consider microdosing GLP-1s, because it absolutely transformed my body. And they're not for weight loss. Microdosing is not for fat loss. Everybody thinks that it is. And everyone's like, I just want to microdose because I just want to lose a few pounds. I'm like, microdosing is not for fat loss. Like, I have a friend who is microdosing. She has really bad endometriosis, and she came to me in despair, and she was like, Kim, my endo is so bad. I am in so much pain every day. I don't know what to do. Do you think I should try semaglutide, or she calls it Ozempic? Yes, semaglutide. And I said, I absolutely do. So she met with the doctor that I recommend. He prescribed Wegovy, which is semaglutide, and she messaged me 2 days later and she was like, I have no pain. She said, I have been crippled for years with pains in my legs. I have woken up and I am pain-free. She was like, I cannot believe it. She goes, I feel like she goes, I have more energy than I literally feel like I am so energetic. It is unbelievable. She said, I feel like I'm on drugs. And she is completely blown away. She's now 10 days on it. And I messaged her this morning. I said, how are you getting on? What dose are you on now? She said, I'm still on 0.05, which is a tiny microdose, because 0.25 is the starting dose. So she said, I'm still on 0.05 that you had me on. She said, I took my second shot there 3 days ago. And she said, I noticed that my pain was starting to come back a little bit. So I took my No, she took her other shot today. She must be 7 days on it then. Or 8 days. I took my other shot today. She said, I noticed over the weekend the pain was starting to come back in my legs a little bit. She said, I took the other shot this morning. We'll see how we go. But it hasn't affected her appetite at all. She hasn't lost 1 single pound. So as I said to her, have you lost weight? And she said, no, but I wouldn't mind dropping a few pounds. Do you think that I should increase the dose? I said, you probably could go up to the standard starting dose if you want to lose body fat, but on a microdose, you won't lose body fat. She was like, oh, she goes, I know you told me that, but I was really hoping that you were wrong. I thought that you were like maybe lying. I was like, no, I'm not lying. I promise you, you don't lose body fat on a microdose, especially not if you're not metabolically optimized. So I just want to be really clear about that. Everybody thinks, like, I have so many haters online. They're like, oh, she's on Ozempic and that's why she's so skinny. I'm like, well, no, I started Ozempic after I lost the body fat. I shredded for a photo shoot in April and I started Ozempic the next week. And I've just stayed this weight because all I do is exercise, because I'm running the Fierce program and the SCULPT program and the Carve program. And now I'm doing ButtCamp. I recorded 6 HIIT workouts in 3 days last week. 6 in 3 days. People are like, she's skinny because of Ozempic. And I'm like in here dying from like overexertion of HIIT workouts, and people are saying I'm skinny because of Ozempic. Like, it's so funny. Natasha and I laugh all the time because we're like, if only people knew, Kim, the amount of exercise that you do, because I'm always recording. So I just can't keep up with the amount of exercise. I literally can't keep I don't even have enough time to eat enough calories to put on weight. So 0 time to eat, and hope my job is exercising, but it's the Ozempic, right? Anyway, people will believe what they want to believe. But my point is GLP-1s could really, really help you, Kelly. Okay, so let me go back to ButtCamp question now. What should you do with your calories? If you're on 1750 calories and you want to do this as a cut, it doesn't take long for your metabolism to re-stabilize, by the way. So if you've been eating, you said you've worked your way back up to 1,750 calories. The calories in ButtCamp for the first 4 weeks are 1,500. So I wanted to give you guys enough calories because this is an 8-week program and 1,500 is pretty low for a lot of people. So I wanted to give you a long enough lead in that, you know, you're not dropping weight too quickly and that you have enough food to fuel your energy, to build your glutes. And then we gradually drop over the last 4 weeks. 1,500 calories is not that much lower, Kelly, than what you're on right now. So if you wanted to do this as a cut, why not do the first 4 weeks at 1,500 calories? See how your body responds. If your body's responding well and you're losing body fat, then you can drop to the 1,400, which really isn't that much lower. And if you wanted to for the last 2 weeks, you could drop to the 1,200. You don't have to though. But one thing I would say is, rather than making a decision now for what you're going to do for the next 8 weeks, why not try it, see what happens, and then change if you need to? Like, my sister has MS and she went to see her consultant last week and he wants to put her on this particular medication. And she rang me and she was like, I don't know whether I should do it or not because, you know, I've never taken any medication. I've never needed to. And there's apparently side effects. 1 in 10 people has side effects. And, I don't want to have any side effects. I can't afford to have side effects. And I was like, well, why don't you just take the medication and see if you have the side effects? And she was like, I know, but what if I do? And I said, well, then just stop. If the side effects are worse than the medication, that, you know, the benefits you're getting from the medication, you can stop. You don't have to keep going. And she was like, oh. You know, it was like, so I can try it. I was like, yeah, you could try it. And then like, just stop. It's so funny how I think in life, we really have this all or nothing mindset. And I don't know why. I blame school. I really do. I blame school. You know me, I'm not a big fan of school in general. And I hated school. And I think that school teaches you that you have to choose a subject, and when you've chosen it, you're stuck with it. That's it. Right? You're over here, you choose your GCSEs, which are the exams you do when you're 16, and then you choose your A levels, which are the exams you do when you're 18. And when you're 16, you have to choose your 3 A levels or your 4. And when you choose them, you're stuck with them. That's it. 2 years. Don't like it? Tough. Can't change. Right? So I think we have this fear of choosing something in case it's the wrong choice, because all the way through school, when we choose something, it's like, well, if you choose carefully, because when you choose it, you're stuck with it. My kids never had that. My kids, because they never went to school, were just allowed to choose. They were allowed to try something, do it until they were full up with it. And then they were allowed to move on to something else, because that is how human beings are. We do something passionately for a period of time until we are full up with it, and then we move on to something else. It's like me with the gym. I went to the gym and I was like, high intensity training, must lift big weights, never train at home with a booty band, right? For years and years and years. And then went full circle. Now I'm only training at home with booty bands and dumbbells. And I had no fear of changing. I was just like, okay, great. That served me. And for as long as it served me, and now this is going to serve me better. So I'll just change. But I think that we have this real fear of changing because we think something bad is going to happen if we change. And it's usually just a control strategy left over from childhood. And control is always, fear is always under control. So people are afraid of change because they want to control their environment. Because if I control my environment, I have predictability, and I have predictability, then I'm safe. Not always true. So why not just try it? Is what I would say. Try it, Kelly, and see what happens. And if you find that it's not working for you after a couple of weeks, then just change. Just go back. Simple. It's amazing, though, whenever you think about it that way, you're like, oh, yeah, right. I'm a big girl, grown woman, free will, can choose to change if I want to. It's like nothing bad's going to happen. I love being flexible. I love teaching people to be flexible. Stacey Fisk. I would love to ask you about your microdosing. I started microdosing tirzepatide and BPC 157 and TB 500 for pain and inflammation. I've had a shoulder injury and punched nerves in my neck. So far, I don't feel any change in 4 weeks. What are your thoughts? So, and she says she's on 0.2 mil weekly of tirzepatide. Okay, so I don't want to go into too much into these, Stacey, because this is not what the ButtCamp is for. And I've still 4 more questions to get through, but I'll answer very quickly. So first of all, tirzepatide is a much higher dose than Ozempic. So tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro, and Zepbound, the starting dose is 2.5 milligrams. So if you're on 0.2 milligrams, you're not even on a microdose. A microdose of tirzepatide is 0.6 milligrams. So you would need to triple the dose that you're on for it to be considered a microdose. That's why you're not feeling any benefits. Also, tirzepatide is not for pain and inflammation because it has a massively concentrated amount of GLP-1. Tirzepatide works on GLP-1 and GIP. GIP is a polypeptide which your body makes to slow down gastric emptying and to help you keep fuller for longer. So tirzepatide is not for inflammation because it's the GLP-1 which controls inflammation. So a lot of people are now taking Mounjaro and going, oh, but Kim, I'm not getting, the inflammation benefits that you talked about. And I'm saying, well, that's because you're on too small a dose, first of all. And secondly, you're on the wrong GLP-1. You're on the wrong medication. You're on the wrong peptide. So you won't be feeling any benefits from tirzepatide. Also, if that's the dose that you're taking, in order for me, whenever I took tirzepatide just to try it, I had to take a full standard starting dose split over 2 doses a week. So I had to take, just under actually. I took it was half a standard starting dose. I took 0.6 milligrams twice a week. So I was taking 1.25 milligrams, which is half of the standard starting dose, twice a week. So you will have to take a hell of a lot more to feel the benefits if you're taking tirzepatide. I would recommend switching to Ozempic. First, number one. Second thing is I took BPC 157 for 6 weeks, made 0 difference to my hip pain. None whatsoever. So it doesn't seem to be as good for tendinopathy, which is what I have, gluteal tendinopathy. Doesn't seem to be as good for that. I haven't tried TB 500. I have heard BPC 157 and TB 500 taken together are good for injury repair. And you said you have a shoulder injury and punched nerves in your neck. I never found any benefit from taking it, so I didn't. My husband did find benefit from taking it for his knee. He has damaged cartilage in his knee. It did help him, and he doesn't take the GLP-1s, but I find the GLP-1s so much better for inflammation, but you're on tirzepatide, which is not good for inflammation, and you're on far too small a dose to make any difference, so you need to increase the dose or you need to get a different peptide. Okay, Beverly Stacchini. Hello, lovely Beverly. Good to see you. She says, I did ask this before I joined, but I didn't see an answer. I will be away when the challenge starts, so may not be in the best position to take acceptable photos. I come back on the 22nd of September. Can I take my start photos then? I will be a week behind everyone else, but I plan to join where everyone else is up to. I can't wait to get started. Beverly, whenever we release the photos, you can take the starting photos whenever you want. So we release, it's so funny. We release now the before photos and the after photos together at the same time. It dawned on us in the last challenge. Laura and I were sitting here one day and I just had this thought. I said, Laura, I have a question. Why do we not release the after photos at the same time as the before photos? And she said, well, because we don't want people to have early access to the photos. And I went, why not? And she said, well, because we don't want them to be able to take their before photos too soon. And I was like, but the only person they would be hurting would be themselves. Like if someone wants to take their after photos a week after they start, like it doesn't affect us in any way. They're not going to have as good as results as someone who takes them after 8 weeks. She and I looked at each other and we were like, oh my God, we're dicks. Like we hadn't even thought about it. We were just so, we were making life so difficult. All the Aussies were going, when's the after sign being released? And, you know, and why can we not get it a day early? And we were like, no, you have to wait for the after sign. And we were giving it to them. And then we thought, oh, this is completely ridiculous. Like we hadn't even thought. It was so silly. So now we release the after sign with the before sign. So you will get the before sign on Sunday, the 14th of, we release it on Sunday, the 14th of September. That's because the Aussies, it's obviously Monday for them. So I guess you could take it a day early if you really wanted to. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever. And then we release the after photos on the same day. So you can take the before photo anytime you wish. It's completely up to you. Laurie Fangman is asking, what is the best shoe for weight training, especially since the focus is stabilizing the feet to perform glute-focused exercises? So for this particular training, Laurie, there really is no particular shoe which is best. I use any shoe at the minute. Whenever I trained in the gym, I used to use Reebok Nanos, but that's because I have a very, I have a foot with a very high instep. And so I found that the Reebok Nanos actually had a very flat sole and they helped to keep my feet a lot flatter. But now that I train at home with dumbbells, it really doesn't matter what shoes you use. Like you can do it with bare feet if you want. In fact, apart from the lunges, every single exercise can be done with bare feet, and it would probably be better to do it with bare feet because that's what keeps you flat on the ground. But I just, at the minute, I'm wearing Under Armour training shoes. They're just like, I got them in lots of different colors because they were super comfy and they were on sale. So I bought like 4 pairs. But again, it's not like, it's just any shoe is fine. No, for these dumbbell workouts at home, genuinely any shoe is completely fine. So you don't need to worry about it. Brooke Amber Bammer, I'm very excited about this program, but I'm nervous that all the leg work will make my quads bigger. I certainly don't want that. I have plenty of fat to lose, but will all the muscle we build make them bigger? Okay, Brooke, no. No. I spent 10 years trying to make my quads as big as I could possibly make them by squatting more weight than any man I know apart from Mark Getty. That like doing pendulum squats and leg presses and incline hack squats and barbell squats and leg extensions and split squats and walking lunges with heavy weights, 10 years, and my quads were nowhere near as big as I wanted them to be. In fact, I spent 2 years trying to build my quads by myself in the gym. And it was only when I went to train with Mark and have him spot me that my quads actually started to grow. It is extremely hard to build your quads, especially doing dumbbell work. Now, this workout is not, we do not have a lot of quad focused exercises on this workout, in these workouts. Will your quads be worked? Yes, because we want to make sure that we are working the quads. But will they be, we're not focusing on quads. This is not a quad focused training program. This is a glute focused training program. So your quads are going to be worked, but they're going to be worked secondary to your glutes. So you absolutely do not need to worry that your quads are going to get bigger, because they definitely won't. They will build muscle, but they're not in 8 weeks going to look any sizably bigger, especially if you're losing body fat. If you're losing body fat, they'll look smaller, which is a good thing for most people because most women want to have smaller legs. You will build muscle, but not like enormous amounts in 8 weeks. Okay, last question. Perfect timing. Kelly Bosch. I'm not celiac, but the amount of gluten in seitan always plays havoc with my stomach, and I've had really bad IBS flare-ups in the past with it. Kelly, GLP-1s. They are amazing for your digestive system. I'm just saying. I don't want anything getting in the way of my shred. So are you able to recommend a replacement that is like for like and can be weighed and put in the place of seitan in a simple swap? I don't plan on doing my own macros. I just want to follow the meal plan. However, I'm guessing seitan will feature, so I'm preparing in advance. She says, the struggle I'm having is fat content in anything other than animal-based proteins, and I'd rather stick to plant if possible. So here's the thing, Kelly. There actually isn't a huge amount of seitan, believe it or not, in the meal plans, but there is no like for seitan. Seitan is really, really high in protein and low in fat and low in carbs. There is no other vegan protein that even comes close to matching seitan. So you can, though... I mean, I guess the only one that would come close would be something like sunflower. We call it mince. You guys in America, I think, call it hash. You would like beef hash, you would call it, or beef haché, maybe. I don't know how to pronounce it, but we call it minced beef. I think you call it beef hash. So that you can get like a sunflower mince, it's called, made from sunflower seeds, and it's really high in protein, really low in carbs and fat. It tastes just like minced beef. Well, it doesn't taste like it, but it has a kind of texture of like beef crumbles, maybe you call them. I really need to get to know actually what you guys call it in America. But that would probably be the only thing that would be comparable in terms of protein and macro content. It is hard to get hold of though, and it is quite expensive, but there isn't a huge amount of seitan in the meal plan. So you don't need to worry about that, but there really is no comparable, unfortunately. You know, tempeh and tofu are higher in fat and lower in calories than seitan. So it is a hard substitute. But I have tried to make the meal plan as simple as possible because I know that nobody is going to want to be standing cooking hours, you know, seitan for hours and hours and hours on the weekend. And so I have tried to make it as simple as possible, and you will be able to switch out for another protein of your choice pretty easily. Or you could just leave out the protein out of the meal if you wanted and make it up with protein powder. If you can drink protein powders and you like doing that, that's probably what I would do for 8 weeks. I'd probably just leave it out of the meal if it was too hard to replace and add in a couple of extra scoops of protein powder. So always, always, always doable whenever there is a will. There is absolutely 100% always a way. Okay. Guys, thank you so much. That was like perfect timing. Loads of questions, really, really good questions, really well attended Zoom call. I'm sorry I was a couple of minutes late, but if you're watching live, thank you so much for being here. If you're watching the recording, thank you so much for watching the recording. We are planning to have everything ready by Thursday. So the customer hub is going to be ready on Thursday, hopefully sooner. We're aiming for Thursday, but hopefully sooner. And what will happen is we will send everybody a link to the customer hub. We will email it to you. So make sure that you are definitely receiving emails from us. If you're not, write to support@thesculptedvegan to check that your email is on the list, because if you haven't responded to or opened to our emails for a long time, we automatically just remove you off the list. And then sometimes people get, you know, and they get emails from us and then they hit the unsubscribe button, which is totally fine. I'm not offended. But if you unsubscribe from our emails, it means that we can never send you any emails ever again. It's a very annoying feature of Keep, which is the email software provider that we use. So if you unsubscribe from our emails, then if you buy a program in the future, we can't send you the program, because unless you opt back in via a Keep form, which you don't do when you buy a program because you use our shopping cart, which is Samcart, we can't send you any emails. So it's a constant ongoing problem that people don't receive their programs. And then we say, well, you unsubscribed. They're like, I didn't unsubscribe. You're like, well, we did. We can see you hit the unsubscribe button. So that is an issue. So if you're not receiving emails from me, your program receipt is not an email. It doesn't come from us. It comes from Samcart. So if you haven't received any emails from us, definitely check in with support. Make sure that you're on our email list, because we're going to email the customer hub to you. The customer hub is beautiful. It's going to have a welcome video at the start from me explaining the whole program. We're going to have the buttons to download the signs. Then we're going to have the meal plans. We're going to have a playlist for your cardio, a playlist for your workouts. So you just click the button, goes to the playlist. And then we're going to have the meal plans to download there as well. And then any other information you need, it'll be in the customer hub. You'll be able to save that hub to your phone as an app, so that every time you need to access it, you literally just click the button to access. It'll take you straight to the hub. It'll be yours forevermore. All the information will live there, and you'll be able to go back to it and refer to it at any time you want. So hopefully that helps to explain how everything is going to be recommended, or everything is going to be delivered to you. Okay, guys, this was awesome. I will see you on the Facebook group. I'm now out of Facebook jail, which is really amazing. So you'll be seeing a lot more of me in the group, and I will see you back here next week for another Q&A. And there's my mum ringing me, so I'm going to go and answer now and end the call. Okay, guys, take care. See you all next week. Thank you so much. Bye for now.